Good morning. I
Morning.
have the fabulous Violet Marsh with me this morning. I am so thrilled. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, we have so many things going on. This is one of I think I've done many morning shows, and this might be my favorite so far. There's so many exciting things happening today, and of course, we get to spend the first hour with you, which I'm oh my gosh, my audience is just going to go crazy when they learn all about the amazing things that you do. So I'm just so thrilled. I've got some friends here already. Hello, Terry. Good morning, Sock. Good morning, Kristen. Good afternoon, Dee. Good morning, Paige. Hey, Nicole. Oh, it is a beautiful morning. She feels that she's such a sunny disposition. I'm sure she always feels that way. Well, I am beyond excited. Oh, good morning, Stacy. I don't want to leave anybody out, but we have to say, other than good morning, it's a special day because it's release day for Violet Marsh's new book. Our dear Miss H is on the case. As you can see by my bookmark, I'm in the midst of it right now. I'm like midway through. I'm having a blast. So very exciting. Have you done anything? You're busy on a work trip right now, so you probably haven't had a whole lot of time to do anything special for your release today, have you?
No, and it's just 6:30. I'm normally East Coast, but I'm on the West Coast, so it's only 6:30. So I have not really done a lot for release day. I did have the opportunity on Saturday to do an author interview at a local bookstore. I'm from Pittsburgh, in the Pittsburgh area, with Melissa Weisner. And her book was absolutely wonderful. Her release day was last Tuesday, and she's also a local Pittsburgh author. So that was really exciting to be able to, talk to her. And then I got a few pre-orders I got to sign for my
Oh,
book. But I think that's the biggest thing I've done so far is, get to share another author's fun. That's what's so great about the romance community is the authors are really great, the readers are great, and I think it's really a collaborative, fun place. I just love romance, and it's just a great genre.
it is. You're so right. Like this community is just my favorite community in the whole wide world. I mean, just everyone is encouraging and uplifting and positive and and if anybody's feeling less than that, like we just help build one another up. And I just love this community so much. That's so neat that you mentioned Melissa Weister because she popped in via video last week. So we got to hear about her release. It sounds amazing. And did you get a chance to read it?
I did, Forever provided me, with a copy, and it is really
Oh.
it's a slow burn. It is, like, one of the best slow burns. She really develops the characters and the romance, and it really gets into, the connection with her heroine, meets the hero's family, and she really falls in love with the whole family, and she just wrote such a beautiful story that really is about found family, and it's just a wonderful read.
I need to read it. I need to read it. But you know what else? Okay. I don't even know where to start because when I was researching you, I just added so many books to my TBR, to my Kindle Unlimited library. I just can't wait to get into everything. We've got a couple more people. Good morning, Megan. I'm so glad you're joining. And oh, they're saying hi to oh, and they're saying hi to hello, Violet, says D. And Wyoming. Hello, Wyoming and Silly. And hello, Shannon. Well, I want to start with one of my very favorite questions to ask, which is what made you want to be an author?
I think being an author, and a lot of writers say this, it chose me. I didn't really choose it. Ever since I was a little girl, I always had stories in my head, and my mom, of course, has kept these things that I wrote down when I was 5. And I just always seem to have a story, always seem to have characters. And I think especially when I stopped playing with dolls, I still wanted to create those stories and those worlds. And that's when I really, at I think age 12, kind of picked up the pen and started writing because I still wanted to have that creative outlet. And then I went to law school, and that kind of killed my creativity. And then I got a concussion, and when I about, oh gosh, it's a while now. 2000. It was right after I got married. We moved into a new house, my husband and I, and we didn't have a table underneath a lamp, and I walked right into it. And that gave me, and it took me a while because it was a few days after where I started the symptoms. So I didn't connect the hit because it really wasn't that bad of a hit to like what I was feeling. So while I was trying to figure out why I was feeling the way I was, I really just felt kind of trapped because that sometimes you get like a lot of mental fog with that. And
Oh.
writing was kind of an escape I could find. And my husband really encouraged me to write. And that's how I got back into writing, was a good knock to the head. So
What a unique story. Oh my heavens. Well, I'm glad you're okay.
thank you.
Take us through your journey to publishing your first book.
Well, the RWA, really, the Romance Writers of America, for those who don't know the acronym I just threw out, they've been through a lot of turmoil.
Oh.
But in 2019, they've been through a lot. But before they had the Golden Heart, and I don't know if they have a similar, because they took some contests away, put them back in. But back before 2019, they had a writers contest for unpublished writers, and it was called the Golden Heart. The Ritas are the big thing for all the published, and they've changed it now. I don't know what the name is, but back then it was called the Ritas for the published authors. But for unpublished,
Mhm.
it was Golden Heart. And if you finaled in the Golden Heart contest, you didn't have to win it, which I did not, but I did final. If you finaled in it, it really gave you a cachet in the industry, where when you were pitching to agents and publishers to say that I'm a Golden Heart finalist, really gave you kind of a leg up, which was good. So, and I actually, Monica McCarty had written on her website, that's how she got her start. So that's why I thought, well, let me try this contest. After I'd hit my head and written some books, I thought, let me try, the contest.
Ouch.
So I submitted it and I finaled twice in it. The first book that I finaled on eventually became the first book that was under the Laurel Kerr, the wild. Wait, it's been a while since.
Sorry,
It's sad.
I've got them right here.
Uh,
Oopsie, boop.
yes, Wild on My Mind. I'm like, which Wild book was it? It started out as Volunteering Her Heart. Publishers this might have come up in other conversations. Publishers, and I'm traditionally published, they often will pick the title because they've got the marketing team. They really understand. They have the pulse on the industry of, what is the title that's really popular now? What's going to appeal to it? How are we going to market this? So when readers look at this title, they kind of get the feel of the book. So they changed the title to Wild on My Mind. And that book then became the first book I published. Now, the second book that I finaled the next year was a historical romance. That one, I love it, but it's never been published. It's kind of like under the bed. Maybe someday it'll see the light of the world. But that was my path. And having those two, I they had, back when you would go to the RWA conferences, they had where you could pitch really to agents. They had like a 5 minute kind of like speed dating, and where you would sit
Get
down and like
out.
pitch it, and you could go to another one and pitch. And one of the agents I pitched to then was my first agent. And then she, of course, got the deal for me, the first book deal. But that was really the path to publishing. And I don't know if RWA, for if there's any aspiring authors out there, I don't know if RWA, it still has like local contests. You can see if they've reopened, because I'm no longer a member of it at the moment, but you can see if they have any that like what akin to the Golden Heart.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of local chapters, and local romance chapters that kind of have spun off, and they offer contests. And a lot of my friends did more contesting than I did, and it can also give you feedback. And often these contests, you can look and they're judged by publishers or by agents, and you can actually get feedback sometimes if you get high enough up in it, that you can see like what's working, what isn't working. And a lot of that, it seems like that's where a lot of my friends really develop their craft too, in addition to getting into the publishing world. So I strongly recommend that and looking into those things.
That is fascinating. I love that. And I love that we have advice here for would-be authors. How perfect. Kristen has a great comment. Speed dating agents sound like a panic attack waiting to happen. How were you feeling when you were doing that? Did it feel stressful or fun or a mixture?
Probably a mixture. Yes, definitely. I at that point, I'm a lawyer in my other life, and I've done negotiations and things like that. So I think that kind of helped because it was a little less stressful in some ways than negotiating with another attorney, as like all the business folks are waiting as you like drafting a contract real time. So
Oh,
that had
right.
kind of got me like a little bit better with nerves, but obviously I was still nervous. I mean, you're pitching to an agent, you're pitching to a publisher. I mean, nerves exist,
Right.
but I think it did help that I had done high stress situations, even though in a different thing. That I was like, okay, I can deal with it, this stress. So, and I think that's the thing too, is just realize they're just at the end of the day people too. They want to connect, they want to communicate. Maybe they're not going to be a right fit, but they're looking for, a new author, and so it's just all about making connections.
That is fascinating. Well, okay, so I didn't have this question prepared. So if you're not sure, that's totally fine and we can move on. But do you feel like your career as a lawyer has somehow impacted some like the stories that you want to tell or the way that you write or anything like that? We've had another author on here before who was a lawyer, actually several, now that I think
A
of it.
lot, yeah.
Yeah, and they would write, like, in the courtroom during their free time or, they love doing it because it's a nice escape from, like, the regular stresses of being a lawyer. Are there any kind of I'm asking the same question again, but, I mean, did you ever have a sense of, like, that you wanna do law-related stories or is this just a nice
I
escape
have
or
some. Yeah, I mean, I do have one, I guess generally, I mean, I think the fact that research law is always really rooted in research, it's rooted in writing, and I think both of
Oh,
those things help, and I think my love for research, I mean, it kind of comes out in both of the fields that I do, and definitely I think what I would say law has prepared me the most for is getting editor comments back. Again, like, I'm used to drafting language in a very high stress environment where you're trying to weigh the other sides, what they want. You're trying to protect your company and put this all in language. And you have so many stakeholders that you're trying to craft this. So when an editor says, we want more romance here, we want more action here, you need to like up the mystery. I'm like, I can do that because that's just from my imagination. Like that. So I think it makes working with editors, and also I'm used to, like, you're used to your work being constantly criticized or amended or changed, and I think it's something like you're ready when the editor says, okay, let's make this book better, and let's work together and craft this. So I think it helps with flexibility when you get editor comments, and editors are great. They really help. They take your book and they really help you bring out that story and bring out the emotions.
yeah.
They're really good to work with.
Mm. That's fascinating. That's really fascinating. We got a comment here. I am awesome in those kinds of situations. Maybe I should be an agent for talking to agents. There you go. There you go. Well, I'm very excited, as we mentioned, that this is your release day for our dear Miss H is on the case. I was so thankful that Forever sent me a copy, but I'm also going to project the big one up here so everybody can really see just how amazing it is. Tell us a little bit about this book.
Um, well, so
Sorry. Really
sorry.
open-ended. Maybe that's too open-ended.
Switch gears. No, that's okay. I just have to switch gears into so this one, I love archaeology, and, I wanted to write an archaeologist heroine. The problem is archaeology didn't really exist in the 1750s when this is set. So I had to do research of because I wanted her to be a modern archaeologist. I mean, a lot of these, I mean, really archaeology, I think, really started when you look at it with Tutankhamun's tomb when they because that the archaeologist Carter, he really very detailed wrote everything down. And I think a lot of modern archaeology, I mean, you know, he didn't do everything perfectly. I mean, there's things he probably could have done better. I mean, looking in hindsight, but it really wasn't the scientific field. But what I had discovered actually reading a children's book to my daughter, who at the time was 5, and I've learned wonderful things from really good nonfiction children's books. They distilled information, yet it's very good.
Yeah.
Pompeii at the time, they had discovered Pompeii, but they didn't realize it was Pompeii. But they had excavated Herculaneum and they were starting with Pompeii. And there was oh, a military man that they had that the government, I think had, I think it was Spain. It was not Italian. They had, and I might be incorrect on that. I didn't check that before. Um, they had hired him. He was a mercenary basically, and he was very meticulous about this. And he really was one of the first that really looked at it. And he was actually doing the House of Papyri, which was in Pompeii. But again, they didn't realize at the time the book was written, that's where they were. They were still learning. And he was much more detailed. So I have in the book that she had a correspondence with him, and that's where she was doing more of the detailed research that we would happen today. So if anyone is like a student of history and especially archaeology, you might be like, well, this is a little anachronistic what she's doing, but that's kind of where I got the idea from. But and I had also watched The Dig, which was a Netflix about in the 1930s, where this woman had a man excavate a mound on her property, and they found like a burial ship from the Anglo-Saxon era and this mast, the Sutton Hoo mast. And I got this idea that I wanted to have a heroine who found the mast because these masts were not. I don't think any were found at this period. I could be incorrect, but obviously the Sutton Hoo was found hundreds of years later, but it was still under the ground. So it was possible that someone could have
Yeah.
opened up the ground and found a mask like this. So
Sure.
it's all within the realm of possibility. And I wanted this heroine that found this mask and who was like an actual, more scientific archaeologist, not a treasure hunter or a tomb raider, someone that was really looking at the people and what they lived and what she could find out and gathering clues like a modern archaeologist would.
Yeah.
And so that's where she came from. And then I wanted a hero, she was very intellectual. So I always like them to kind of contrast. I'm like, well, what's if he was kind of more into sports? He does have a club foot, and so he does have somewhat of a disability, but he's still very much a sportsman. He's really good at shooting. He's, as you can see on the cover, he is really good at carriage racing. He's a very, very physical type person, and she's more cerebral. And her half brother, who she is her guardian and controls like her inheritance. He is also a sportsman, but the type of rogue that's not redeemable. And so she thinks she doesn't really want a sportsman; she wants a scholar. And but then and she, trying to get her ideas known, has been living under her one of her cousins has let her use his name, and he knows what's going on. He's also kind of a ne'er-do-well, but he's like a good-hearted
Yeah.
ne'er-do-well. And he knows about the mask. Well, he ends up going missing with the mask because he was supposed to present it to the Historical Society in London, and she wants to find him and find the mask. And she goes to a coffee house, which was in the first book, the Black Sheep Coffee House, because she knows he frequents it, her cousin Percy. She goes there, and Alexander, the hero, knows Percy, and he's there at the coffee house. His cousin and sister run it. And he says, I'll help you find Percy. He's attracted to her right away. She's like, I don't know, you're a sportsman. But eventually, it's romance, so they fall in love, and their
Yeah.
differences make each other stronger, which I love about romance books, where they do that, and their strengths strengthen each other, and their differences,
I love
work.
it. I love it so much. You I don't even know where to start. Like, again, like I have so many things I want to say. So it's so neat, actually. Last week we got a chance to speak to Addie Duloc, and she was talking about King Arthur and history, and she was going big into just battles and things like that. And at that point, I was at that talking about, or well, because I was reading this, I can't speak today apparently. They were talking about Percy was saying that he thought that perhaps the mask belonged to King Arthur. But it was just so funny how worlds were colliding. And I think the more that I get into historical romance, this is just me personally now sharing, but I feel like a lot of the audience is kind of on this journey with me. The more we get into historical romance, the more we're just excited about history. And for me too, I love archaeology. I love anthropology. I love learning about all of those types of things. So the fact that you have some of this in your book, I mean, that drew me in immediately. The fact that we start out, she's on a dig site, she's working. And I love that. I love seeing women that are cerebral, they have their own thing going on. And I love her dynamic with Percy, her cousin, who, like you said, he's not a ne'er-do-well, but he's sort of the life of the party. He's not really interested in the history per se, but he's more than willing to do, um, oh my gosh, her name just flew right out of my, Georgina's bidding, because he likes her and he enjoys traveling and talking about the history. But I love that she's able to use him sort of, for lack of a better term, as her puppet essentially, to still get into those society meetings and get her work known and shown. And you mentioned the first book, and I looked and looked and I couldn't see that this was a series. But is this part of a series? Because I saw Charlotte. This goes with this book, right? Lady Charlotte
Yeah.
always gets her man. Okay. So would you
Yeah,
call this book 1?
yeah, that is book 1,
Okay.
and then that one's book 2, and in fact, Lady Charlotte is the sister then of Alexander in the 2nd book, and this is where the black sheep, it's already existed. Her brother's already, in this series, Alexander already frequents the black sheep, which is run by their estranged, cousin. Her, their the cousins' moms were twin sisters, and the one twin sister ran away with a pirate and started the Black Sheep Coffee House in London. And of course,
I love it.
both Alexander and Charlotte's family is, very, very, very snobbish, and and they do not want to associate or connect with this side of the family. But Alexander's already, his parents just don't accept the fact that he's not, the perfect specimen of like manhood in their minds. In my
Mhm,
mind, he is a
mhm.
perfect specimen of manhood, and I think,
Yes.
but it like because of what they define it as.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
so he's already kind of the black sheep. So he goes to the Black Sheep Coffee House, and actually Lady Charlotte falls in love with his best friend, who also goes to the coffee house, who's a third son of a duke, and chose to gasp, like have a profession, and not only that, become a surgeon. And a physician, and back then doctors were not respected like they are today, especially surgeons. Like uh, it physicians and surgeons kind of came in different angles. Surgeons came more from like barbershops you would actually go to, and they actually were like their guild was different, and they were considered like, like working class basically. It would, you go to the barber and you get a shave, or you get like, I don't know, a leech, your blood drawn or something.
Yikes.
And so him choosing not only to be a physician but also to pursue it as like a surgeon was very like not respected. But he know like he he really saw how surgery could help, not just like from the more cerebral, like try like it's, giving medicines and stuff. You would
Yeah.
have the doctor, the apothecary, and the surgeon. They were all kind of separate, but not like they are separate today. It's like not more education. It was like considered kind of a different field almost. And he,
Wow.
at this time it was starting to combine, but it was still relatively new. So he's a black sheep because he chose actually to be to help people and to be a physician.
Yeah.
And Lady Charlotte, her snobbish parents have decided that they want her to be engaged to an heir to a dukedom, so they can have like the double duke stuff in their family.
Mm.
Because her dad is a duke. And this man, though, is terrible. And his first two wives died under mysterious circumstances. So she's joins the black sheep as a way with her. She has a little bit of inheritance from one of her great aunts, and she takes that money and helps the black sheep, her cousin, open up a separate room to the black sheep, a back room that can be co-ed, and women of a higher class can come and go and mingle just like the men can. At the time, I should probably backtrack a little bit. Coffee houses were seen as like they were called penny universities, and it was a very egalitarian place where you would have all walks of life, men, mostly men, from all walks of life and all social strata coming and talking. And like Lloyd's of London originally was a coffee house. A lot of the things that we have, like the big things from Britain, came out of the coffee house culture. Eventually it moved into like more the snobbish like men's clubs like White's and Boodles and the ones you read in the Regency
Yes.
era. But
Yes.
back then it was this egalitarian place where you would have laborers, and in each coffee house, like there were coffee houses you'll notice in the second book there is a coffee house that's particularly for antiquarians, or they're like basically what was closest to an archaeologist back then. And in real life there would be coffee houses where people from different industries or interests would meet and talk. They weren't supposed to really get into political stuff, but of course they did, because this was really politically charged era, and
Yeah.
so you didn't really want to get in trouble, so you pretend you didn't talk about politics, but of course they did.
Right.
So she had, I guess I should backpedal also to the beginning of the book. She's at the dressmakers, and her mom springs it on her that she's going to be betrothed to this guy that probably has murdered his first two wives. She runs away, ends up in Covent Garden, goes to the coffee house because it's the only place she kind of knows for shelter, even though she doesn't really know her cousin at the time. But she knows her brother goes here. They're twins as well, her brother and she, and they're very close. And she goes to the coffee house, and she then decides she will invest in this so she can have revenue, so when she leaves this guy she has some income. It won't be great, but it'll be some income. And she
Mm.
also has to show that he is a murderous fiend.
Yeah.
So she starts investigating, and to add another twist, the hero, who is again her brother's friend, is also the bullied younger brother of her fiance, so, or her unwanted fiance, I should say. So there's a lot of twists, or not twists. It's known at the beginning, but there's a lot of like connections there, and tropes, I guess,
I love it.
with the drama and the angst.
I love
But that's kind of where the black sheep starts getting a name to be known to uncover mysteries, as well.
Mm. I love that, and I love you mentioned the bullying, which is also a theme that you find in here. Do you feel like that was something that was really important to you as an author to bring these stories about where people who have been bullied, and of course we've got the name the black sheep in there, but they're coming into their own, they're finding ways. And I'm a mom of a couple of my children have special needs, and it's all about finding ways around to still thrive, just finding accommodations, if you will, or workarounds. And I love the way that you have Alexander in this book. He's still able to defend himself despite the fact that his legs are different lengths. He's got the club foot, but he knows like he's got to get his adversary on the ground, like for example. So he's been training, and I just love the idea that you're not losing anything even if you're different. You just have to figure out a different way. And is that something that you feel like you've tried, like a theme you've tried to weave throughout many of your books or most of your books, or is this an important message for you?
I think so, yes. I think that, you know, I think at the end of the day, in any romance book, I'm trying to have people find themselves, accept themselves, and do so like in a loving environment. And I often
Mhm.
take them from situations where they might not have received that love or support for various reasons, whether it's you know, something physical, something mental, something just emotional, that they had difficulties, and that they come and they find healing. And I like healing romances. When I read romances, like, with authors, going back to like Melissa's book, her book was an amazing healing romance. And I think that has always, like, when I read, I like people to heal. I like their happy endings, and I like to see them work for it too. Like, to go through and then to find that earned happy ending. So I think that's it. And I think it's also good to have, representation too in the books as much, to and to try, to pull in, different things, different, obviously as a woman, like, women's rights is always a
Yeah.
big theme in my book. With that, even the contemporary ones, because I find it's easier almost to talk about it in historical setting, because you've got that, we can look at it and criticize it because we have a distance from it, yet at the same
Mm.
time it holds up a mirror to our own society. And I feel like a lot of historical, that's what it's doing. Like, you're really talking about, history's fun and I love it, but we're also, I think a lot of history books are talking about what's happening today,
Wow.
not so much the past. If that, like, I mean, it is the
Yeah.
past, but it's a mirror to today, where we can, in a world where we can explore issues that we still have today.
That's profound. That is so profound. And it kind of goes into what I think I shared with you. I was excited to ask you this question. I know you're sort of going here right now, so I want to just jump in. Is this what you feel like makes a great story?
Yes, I would say, a great romance story, especially, I think
Mhm.
it needs to be character driven.
Mm,
Plot is important, and I think, though, the plot has to advance these characters falling in love, and I don't think you can write a story about characters falling in love without good characterization.
mm.
And it, I think, romance sometimes gets this bad reputation. I think it's starting to lose and shed it, which is great. But to me, it takes, normal, like a mystery story, which this has these elements, and you have to have that plot not just solve the mystery, but you have to have the characters go through a transformation. Because I really, if you're writing a romance, there needs to be a transformation. I mean, Hercule Poirot
Mhm.
is, Hercule Poirot is going to stay the same. Like, he's, Agatha Christie's characters. They're wonderful characterizations,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they're generally that character. Sherlock Holmes is like Sherlock Holmes,
Right,
from
yeah.
Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Like, but in a romance, you can't have the hero detective stay the same, male or female, page one. They need to have gone through, I think, a transformation for a good romance. And you have to have what's happening in the plot, even if the plot's not personal to them. Obviously, in both of these two books that I wrote, the plot is very personal. Lady
Mm,
Charlotte needs to find out what this man has done so she can get out of this marriage. And then Georgina needs to find her cousin and her missing mask. So these are
mm,
very personal to both of them. But even if they were just this was a random case that they were taking on, there's really, a lot of romance authors, like, they'll have like a heroine detective in that, or a male detective. They, even if that plot has nothing to do with them personally, the plot has to make them grow personally, and you have to kind
mm.
of weave that together. And I feel like every scene in a romance, it needs to both advance the plot, advance the character growth, and advance the romance. So it's kind of like doing a threefold, they have to do like three things, I think, in the scenes,
Yeah,
to be, why would I put this in the book? It has to kind
yeah.
of balance those three things.
I love it. I love that. I love that. Let's see. Oh, Molly's just joined us. Before I move on, I want to just the couple of these comments, you're gonna love these. Christy goes, "That's so cool. Please come back. This is also cool to learn.
Oh,
We love learning the
thank
history.
you.
We love it. This book nails everything I like in historical romance. A heroine in STEM, plus archaeology, plus carriage races, right?
Oh, thank you.
This book sounds so interesting and fun. Mystery, history, romance. It's got it all." I love it. I've been so into books with early science and medicine practices, and it's wild where it all started.
It
Truly.
is, yes, like, this era in the 1750s too is where a lot of it really started from, where they really were starting to get into the disciplines, like, when you look at the fall and maybe it might be slightly after or slightly before, but I think,
Mm,
this is right, the age of enlightenment, this is really where they're starting to look at things and starting to think of it scientifically,
mhm,
and
mhm.
that's especially in the old book, like, um yeah, or not the old, but the previous book too, like um his father's very superstitious. He is he but the hero is, very a man of science.
Yeah.
And, it's that contrast and their superstition to like Alexander in the second book, his parents think it's because of his aunt who ran away with a pirate. Her sins is the reason because he was born like right around the time she ran away with a pirate. They think like his sins are being visited, like why he has was born with a club foot. And that's
Mhm.
obviously incorrect. The hero knows it's incorrect. But it was at this time where you were still having, these superstitious views of, and it was still, but enlightenment was coming in and trying to in saying, hey, no, we have to think about this scientifically. And uh, so it's like a lot of it was very cruel what was viewed, and to say,
Yeah.
no, this is not true, this is not the case, these are not the actual reasons why these things, happened.
Mm,
And it's it's a really fascinating time, I think, in history because it is really where they're starting to develop a lot of the disciplines today. And if you look, they did like everything. Some of these people that because I think it because it was so new, you didn't, like, specialize in, like, one field because you didn't have, like, that body of evidence, and,
right.
like, the hero in the first book, like, he's a physician, but he's also a naturalist, and you would have that, like, Charles
Mm,
Darwin's, I think, in his, like, ancestors, there was, like, one that did both, like, that did, so you kind of have that where you have these Renaissance. I mean, that's where the term came from. I mean, this is after the Renaissance, but that's
right,
why you have Renaissance men, like,
right.
because again, the fields were all new. So you didn't have like today, like, we're so specified in fields that, because they've been so developed that you have like a specialty in this. Like if you're a doctor, you might specialize in child neurology. I mean, it can even be more specialized than that.
Yeah.
Pediatric neurology, which is we need that and it's great, but it's because we had such a body of learning to start with that we have, you know, we can go deep,
Yes.
not just broad.
Yeah. Wow. I love it. Now, okay, this is me showing my ignorance, and I meant to look this up before we met. This is in the mid pardon me. This is in the mid 1700s. What era is this referred to as typically?
Georgian. But
Georgian.
Georgian's
Okay,
a
I was
long
hoping that you were
period.
gonna say that because I noticed the powdered wigs, and I mean, it also says in the beginning that it's in like 1750s or something. But I was like, okay, just so people know, this is not just Regency as you had mentioned earlier. But and I love that too. They were getting a different time period than than
Yeah.
many.
Although under the historical umbrella, I've learned Regency means anything pre-1920s, like Edwardians called Regency, like Victorians called Regency, like it's kind of marketed as a Regency, but like in the
Oh.
actual historical, this would be George, and in particular, it's actually set in 1759,
Mhm.
because there's some certain elements actually in this book where I had to nail it down to that date,
Mm.
and this is actually during in America we call it the French and Indian War. And it was actually set it kinda I mentioned it a little bit here and there, but this is during basically the First World War. It's not called that, but every continent was involved in it. I'm from the Pittsburgh area,
Yeah.
and it was, in the French and Indian War, it was actually started in this tiny, tiny, tiny little place that is still tiny, tiny today, like near Fort Necessity, where George Washington was a young man sent to survey, got into a skirmish. A Native American ally killed a French soldier, and then he retreated to Fort Necessity, George Washington, and built this like tiny little circle of like fortifications. He lost the battle. He was forced to sign a thing where he accepted all blame for it, and that started a war. And most people don't realize George Washington inadvertently started really what is the First World War, because it involved like all the countries got pulled into it, and all the continents got pulled into it. So it really is the first. It's not obviously seen as it, but like so during this time there is a war going on that is involving like a lot of countries, and a lot of like North America, it is all being involved in it. So that's kind of the backdrop that I don't particularly. And the Jacobite rebellion was about 15 years. Wait, it was in 45, so am I doing my math right? Yeah, it's about almost 15 years before. So you also have that going on. That you have that the Georgians have been in power for a while. They were German. I'm getting really into history. Sorry, they
We
were
love it. We love
they
it.
were
We do.
the kings from. Because they were Protestant. Because the line that should have been in power should have been it should have been the Stuart, but the Stuarts were Catholic. So
Mm.
and England at this point was very staunchly Protestant. So they went and they like kept looking, and the first person, like the first, as they go down, they found like the Hanoverians over in Germany, and they brought like George, and even like King, like that wasn't even his first language, English. When you with King George. So like they are really German kings that were brought in. So you also have that unrest where they've now kind of accepted like yes, these kings are here to stay, the Hanoverian, but you still have a little bit of like that Jacobite, or like why do we have these people on the throne when really they're really far down who should have been on the throne. So you have that political unrest kind of in the background
Mhm.
that's percolating in
Mhm.
the book. So those are it's an unsettled time. So it's
Yeah.
both a time when there's great learning, great advances, and also there is a lot of destruction, and there is a lot of bloodshed uh, during this time as well.
Okay, so clearly you like history.
Yes.
And I also noticed that as I was perusing your fabulous website, looking at some of the other things that you've done that I did not know about, and I don't know if my audience knows, but I'm going to show you right now. Wait until you see. We've got Velocity of a Secret. Let's jump in time now on the timeline. Tell us about this one. I added this to my Kindle Unlimited, which is also Whisper Sync, which is lovely. So I'm very excited to listen and read this. Tell us about this one.
This is, I think, one of like up there. Like, I mean, I love every book I wrote, but this one's a little special. This one mostly takes place on Orkney Islands, and it's during the very end of World War One, between armistice and when they actually signed the Treaty of Versailles. So we're in that period where there is peace, but it's a tentative peace.
Mm,
Um, the Orkney Islands, just to get everyone so they know where it's at, it is Scottish Islands, very, very north of Scotland. And they used to be Norway, like Norse islands. And so it's both like a Scottish and Norse culture. Like they don't have tartans really there. It's this combination of both. I mean, it is
wow.
pretty far back when but still, like, our sense of history in America is very different. I don't, someone said it was good afternoon, so maybe there is someone from across the pond
Yes, yes.
on. But we have like, I mean, we're very impressed by 200 years, but in over not so much. So I forget exactly when but it was like during the medieval times when it switched. But there still is this very like connection that it's not just Scottish, as kind of like this Norse feeling in Orkney. It's not Orkneys, it's like you wouldn't say Hawaii's, it's like the Orkney Islands. Um,
Oh.
it says that I learned when I was researching it, don't add the S, although I might accidentally, but and they're main, but so I made a fictional island in Orkney, in this book, that there's one island and then there's a tidal island. So half the time these islands are two islands, but half the time they're connected when the tides are low. And so where the action starts, the heroine is an American heiress. She is in like in Florida. She's actually just come back. She before the war, she was a race car driver. And speedboat racer, which women did do that. In America, it was own. They didn't have actually. They couldn't join races in the United States. They would go and do sort of like circus like when they would do eh, like they would race just to, like, entertain audiences, but they weren't actually running like the early races. But in England they could. And
Oh.
uh so she did most of her racing in England because they allowed women to race.
Yeah.
And so she had this background. So she decided during World War One she would volunteer as an ambulance driver. And while she was one of her last times, there was she was like on the French lines, but it was a Englishman dressed as a French soldier, and he warned her that there was like this conspiracy at foot, and that and gave her some clues. So she kind of is still thinking about it. She got sick, she got sent back. She's actually it opens with a celebration where everyone's really celebrating, armistice, and she's kind of suffering from PTSD at this point because of all that, being the ambulance driver and all that she went through. There's an attempt on her life, so she realizes what she had heard is probably, you know, of value. So she goes over to England and she kind of she researches who this guy was and realizes he has a connection to this island. So she ends up going there, ends up buying the island, and it kind of figures out. And the hero then is a crofter on the small little island, and he lost his eye, so he was not like a lot like he couldn't fight. Plus, he was taking care of his younger siblings. So it's kind of like, he feels guilt for not fighting. And also,
Mm.
it's kind of like, although she was not a soldier, yeah, I kind of flipping the trope of, here, this is the woman went to the battlefield and the man, is the one that stayed home and the domesticity, and handled, taking care of his younger half siblings.
Yeah.
And she's there to try to figure out the mystery. And I should forgot in Orkney at the time when they after World War One, before the end of armistice, they took all the German fleet, and interned them in Scapa Flow and up in Orkney. And that is where, they kept them kind of under guard. And eventually the Germans scrapped their own fleet and destroyed it because they didn't want, Britain and, America and France. They don't want that to be divided up. And they did it like right before I forget. They did it right around when the treaty was signed. But and this is purely fictional, this conspiracy, Germany is trying to release the fleet and restart the war. And so she has to figure out like who's involved and what's going on, and kind of like solve the problem before, the fleet is to try to figure out what's going on, because she does know there's this connection, and this is where the German fleet is that. And there was also like a lot of like but there's a lot of activity during World War One and World War Two in that area.
Oh, oh, this is just so when I saw this, I thought, "Oh my gosh, we have to talk about this too." And then the other one that I'm dying because I don't wanna keep you over time. So we have to bring this up too. The Aviatrix. Everybody needs to hear about this too. Can you tell us a little bit about this one?
Yeah, this one is set a little bit after the war. It's 1923.
Okay.
She lost the heroine lost her brother in the war. Her best friend and her brother's best friend fought with the brother in the war. He's come back. Her family runs a in aviation, or they run like training, they train flyers. She's been flying before the hero. She actually trained him, and she trained other American fighters to fight in the war, but women were not allowed to fly during World War One. I don't believe like World War Two, they were doing the fairing of the
Yes.
the planes and stuff. That wasn't really an option,
Mm,
um,
mm.
during, like, during that time. Catherine Stinson, she's kind of based a little bit on Catherine Stinson, who was known as the Flying Schoolgirl. Her family, she also taught, um, flyer men aviators before they went to World War One, and she actually volunteered as an ambulance driver during the war. The real person, Catherine Simpson, like
Oh,
heroine,
I
did
see,
not.
I see, yes.
She stayed stateside, but she like her brothers and her dad, like and her friend, they do she does barnstorming, and she wants to do like all the daring things, and he doesn't think she should do that. He's kind of been in love with her, but he feels really guilty because he feels like he let her brother die during World War One. He didn't, but like he just has that survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
And there's a I love my heiresses. There's an heiress that comes and wants to start like a flying circus. They were called barnstormers.
Yes.
I should barnstorming. Is when they go and they would do all those tricks, and they literally would like sometimes fly through barns, and they would just fly around the country during like the 1920s and put on like flying circuses. They would put on like a circus act and do all these crazy tricks up in the sky. And she then this heiress starts this, and she kind of does like a battle of the sexes, where she hires her and her friend that is becomes the love interest, to do like who can fly better. So throughout the book there's kind of a competition, and it's going around like it starts like in the Midwest and it ends up going out to California, and it's just these group of mostly women performing these stunts, and some of them were she does not, but they were called wing walkers, and they would go out and walk on the biplane, because it had like the stuff, and they would walk on it, and they would perform like they would like hang from it and everything else. They would do these crazy, crazy stunts. There was this little girl, and you can still watch these videos, and she would do the Charleston on a wing of an airplane, and also she did it on this giant balloon that she would do the
What?
Charleston. Like she lived like into her like late like 70s or 80s or something. I mean, she lived a long life.
Yes.
Like, but like, I mean, it was crazy. Like she's so tiny and she's up like doing, and it was unsafe. It wasn't like it
Right?
was, like they had like something to catch her. I mean, it was not, but
Yes.
I think there's one guy that did like hung from his teeth or something. I don't, they kept like upping it and getting crazier and crazier what they would do.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
but so it kind of gets into that period where and early flying, and she also it seems like people like women in STEM. She also comes up with a way to navigate, which
Mm.
was some of the technology was there, but she kind of like came up with how to do it. This was not actually used. It was just I actually my husband's really into this technical aviation. He's a transportation nerd. So he helped me kind of come up with how she could have maybe created something that would have been more useful to help with navigation during it. So she's also developing this tool that would help with it with the technology that kind of they did, but not exactly the way I have it in the book. And it was not developed that way. But that's where that's so there's a STEM element too, in addition to her crazy flying stunts that she goes. And I really, if you like to travel in the United States, I have when I was little, we would always go on family vacations by car from Pittsburgh all the way like out west. And I hit a lot of places, or a lot of places are inspired by that. So if you read the author's note, I kind of say like, well, this was inspired by this, and this was inspired by that.
Oh,
So
neat.
I enjoy it because it really gets the flavor of the American Midwest and West
Wow.
with it. And it is the
Wow.
1920s, so that's fun. I mean, there's Chicago, they end up in California, so you've got, like, the roaring 20s feeling too going on, and, like the 1750s, the 1920s is an amazing period. Again, it comes out of, like, the trauma of World War One, and
Mm.
people like, "We want something different, we wanna do something different." Women clearly were put into roles where they were having, they were they were put into roles where they were doing more what men were doing, kind of like the Rosie the Riveters, but just,
Mm,
beforehand,
mhm.
they had taken on some of the job of the men, and, even the uniforms that they would wear when they did help with the military for nursing and other things, kind of said, "Well, let's get into," and that's where, you have, like, the different outfits then coming out where women started, threw away the corsets, threw away the structural undergarments, and started wearing, sheath dresses and clothing that was actually more accessible to everybody,
Mhm.
fashion, so it really is a period of change, just like the 1750s, I think, and I like those periods of history because it really adds where you can really get into things, and I think we are in a period of change, and so looking back at these historical periods of change is again that lens that we can look back and kind of have conversations about, these are the things they struggled with, we're grappling with it maybe in a different way, but here's a way we can kind of think about it where it feels less personal or less, where we can really in a place that was historical, we can really look at it with a little bit of more perspective, I think.
Mm. Wow, I love it so much. Oh my gosh. This has been so much fun. We're about out of time, but I wanted to ask you two quick questions. What is on the horizon for you? Or is there like are you doing any book signings coming up or any other interviews that we can look for you, podcasts, online, or are you just busy with your other career as well?
I, will be in Lee Valley. They have a book festival. I should have the name of it, but I don't have that up. But if you look at Lee Valley Book Festival on a Sunday, I'll be at a brunch, and I think you can
Oh,
still. So if there's anyone that lives near the Lehigh Valley, there is a brunch. I think it's at the local library, but I'm not sure because
nice.
I'm kind of like in work trip mode. So
I'm
I
sure.
once I get fly back home, then I'm like, okay, then I get back into the book mode.
Right.
But I will be there. That's probably the biggest event I have coming up, and I am working on the third book in the series. So it will be the one of the cousins that owns the coffee house, and it's Miss Wick and the Duke Dilemma. And it's like
Oh.
Alexander, it's Hannah Wick, if you've read the book or
Yes.
so it's Hannah's
Yes.
story, and I don't want to say who the hero is. I will say he does appear in our Dear Miss H is on the case, but I
Oh.
feel like it would be a spoiler if I said who he is.
Okay.
Um, but I will promise you by the end of our Dear Miss H is on the case, you will know who he is.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. I love it. I love it. Kristen goes, "Adds to TBR list." This is perfect. So perfect. Well, I have in my description box, we have your website, your Instagram, any other places that we've talked about previously that you wanted mentioned. So everybody knows where they can find you and find your book. It's on sale today. I just want to thank you again so much for spending time with us, especially on your work trip. Oh my gosh, it's so early over there. And I'm so grateful that we got to chat this morning.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been really fun, and it's a nice break, like mental break from like it's kind of like a palate cleanser, I guess, to to talk about romance before I get back into like the nitty gritty of law. So
Yeah.
it's kind of different. Like again, there are connections, but it's also a different brain function, I
Right.
think. So it was nice to just go into the fun world of and to talk about history. As you can tell, I'm a
Yeah.
huge history nerd. So thank you for
Love it.
listening to my
Yes.
kind of went down the rabbit hole a few times, but thank
I
you for
enjoyed
listening.
every moment. I enjoyed every moment of it, truly, yeah. Oh, this was so much fun. A page goes, "My TBR just got even longer," truly. I know, right? That's what happened to me when I was doing the research. I'm like, "I need to read this. I need to read this. I need to read this." Yeah, so very, very exciting. Well, okay, it's 10:30, I promised. We are going to say goodbye. Have a great rest of your work trip, and hope everybody's gonna be able to talk soon about how much we love your book. So,
Well, thank you. Bye.
bye. Awesome. I love it. Okay, guys. Well, yeah, it is 10:30. And like I had mentioned earlier, we have so much going on this morning, believe it or not. Even I mean, having Violet Marsh, that's more than enough, right? But you won't believe how much I've got going on in the next half of our morning show. So we're going to do 30-minute sprint. We're going to come back at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Yes, I learned about that. Thank you the other day. We're going to be doing some, let's see, it's still March, barely. So I will do another St. Patrick. Let's do the leprechaun race one last time. And you know what? I'll just make it 29 minutes because I really want to try to move on at 11 because like I said, we've got a lot going on. So I'm going to present that. I know it's crazy. I know. I even have do you know what else? I'll tell you this. Why not? I have one of my good friends who's from Chicago is in town visiting family, and she's not even that close, but we're going to be meeting midway for lunch in the middle of the day. So it's just ridiculous how much is going on today. I'll tell you this, I'm prepared, I'm ready, but it's only because I've not really slept much in the last couple of days. I've been up late and up early, like really, really early. So, yes, I'm ready. I'm ready and I'm drinking coffee. I couldn't be more excited though. We've got so much good stuff going on. Okie dokie. So, we're going to start the leprechaun race. Let's see. Now we'll do 28 minutes. And you have to pick your leprechaun. Let me do share on the screen. Do. That's not what I want. Okay, you know what? I have to do it like this then. Okay. We'll set it. Do pick a leprechaun. You know what I gotta do? I gotta do the star hat. We're going with number 2. Looking gorgeous. They all really are, aren't they? Be sure to tell us in the comments who your leprechaun is. We'll come back. We'll talk about what we were up to during this 28 minutes. And I can't wait. We're gonna have so much fun. really thought 2 was going to win there for a second. I thought that Angel Wolf, oh my gosh, Angel Wolf, look at this puppy. Oh my gosh, I bet your puppy would get along well with Silly. Another one of our little fur babies. Oh, I know. I would have thought that too, Sock, that we were going to win. But it looks like Paige and Cassandra, which by the way, hey Cassandra. I saw you come in earlier, and Kristen. We have quite a few winners today. I love what Terry said, by the way, which is, I'm picking the one who won't win. That was great. Oh my gosh, too funny. Let's see some of the comments that happened while we were out. I like how this is a strolling race. No one seems to be in any particular hurry, just ambling along, enjoying the day. Yeah, we love that. Nicole had to run to teach, but she's going to catch the replay. Oh, Nicole, I can't wait for you to see it. We've got so much going on. You're not even going to believe it. Christina joined us, by the way. Hello, Christina. Welcome. And Amina's here. I haven't seen you in a little bit. So good to have you here, and good afternoon to you, Amina. I'm so glad you're here. We have a lot of plates spinning this afternoon. We're not even, it's still morning over here, but I'll tell you what, if I can pull this off, I'm going to feel even better about tonight, because there's a lot going on in the next 45 minutes. So get ready. Have a seat. Strap in. It's going to be a wild ride. It's going to be fun, though. I think we're going to have a great time. Dee says, I went for a walk and listened to Where the Lost Wander by Amy Harmon. That's lovely, Dee. And I'm envisioning you walking in this beautiful countryside right here in your profile pic. I love it. Terry says, my pick would have been number 1 and he didn't win. Paige is like, yeah, number 3. Sense of accomplishment. So happy to be here. We're so happy that you're here. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about new releases that are just coming out this week. Holy cow, do we have a lot to cover. And I can't get over how many people wanted to participate. We have someone doing a read aloud of part of their book. We have a giveaway. It's just going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. So you guys, it's going to be really fun. Molly says, I finished 11 more pages in the Ever King and picking weeds during the talk. Good for you. Can you come over and do mine? I tell you. Alrighty. So let's get started, because I do not want to run out of time today. Obviously, we just discussed our dear Miss H is on the case, which has come out today. We also have Denise Williams's Just Our Luck. This is one that I wanted to get, but guess what? It's Berkeley. So didn't get the ARC for that. I know you're shocked. So let's learn a little bit about this from the author herself. I'm really excited to share this with you guys. Okay, I put it right here to make it easy. And of course, it's taking a minute. It's because there's so many. That's why. Okay, here we go.
Hi, I'm Denise Williams, author of Just Our Luck, which is a Grumpy Sunshine fake dating story with $250 million in a donut shop sprinkled on top. Sybil Sweet does not have her life together. She is very often described by readers and her own family as chaotic, and that is sort of her personality. She runs into Kieran, who is responsible and type A, has left medical school to care for his family's donut shop, and the two of them have instant chemistry. But things go awry in Sybil's very chaotic way. She leaves her lottery ticket in the donut shop after a one-night stand, and things go from there when it ends up being a winner. I loved writing these two characters who are so diametrically opposite, but who find so much love in each other. And so this is ultimately a story of what happens when you get everything you could have ever wanted. You won the lottery, but also along the way found somebody who helps you understand the wonderful things there are about you. And actually, my favorite quote in the whole book is him saying to her, "You are the perfect version of me, and to me, you are perfect," which is really, for her, the biggest thing that she could hear. So I'm so excited that you'll be reading this book and talking about it today. This is actually the first in a new universe. This is my 10th book, but this will be the first one in this series. It takes place in Iowa, where I live. So very excited for you to eat some donuts and get to know Sybil and Kieran. Pre-orders until the 25th can go through Dog-Eared Books and you'll also get this amazing art print from Liz Pham, as well as a fun glazed holes sticker, which was the original but unused title of the book. And otherwise, Dog-Eared Books in Ames, Iowa also always has signed copies of all my books because I work about 10 minutes down the street, so you can always reach out to them. I don't have any bonus content for this book yet, but I have a few things cooking. There is quite a bit of free spicy bonus content for some of my other books and just some standalone stuff that folks can get to through my social media. There's a link in my link tree for bonus content, and that's at Nick Will Writes. At Instagram and TikTok and a few other platforms, Blue Sky, Threads, all of those. So thanks so much for talking about the book. I hope you love it. It definitely starts off with a bang, so there's a little preview for you. And I hope you have a wonderful spring.
She's adorable. Okay, so guess what? Okay, all the links are in my description box, including Dog-Eared Books, which you can get signed copies, which I just love because she said she works down the street, so she can sign any copy, which I love. Here's the other fun thing. She's the one doing the giveaway. So if you would like to win, she's going to be giving away art prints that she showed during this video and the glazed hole stickers. Then let me know in the comments right now. I'm going to do a drawing. I'll create the drawing while we're listening to a read aloud, actually. That's why I say there's a lot of plate spinning today. And there's even more. Wait, you just wait. But let me know in the comments. Just say, I want the giveaway. And I can enter you and we'll do a name spin. We'll do two giveaways because she's like, you can do several. So I was like, oh my gosh, yay. But she's so dear. And I love this. I really want to read this. It looks so fun. And I love what we're saying. Like, did Berkeley write to you? You're out of luck. You know they did. But this is what happens. Berkeley, I still have to buy their books. They're just too good, right? I love Kristen Berkeley, Thunder and Lightning. But yeah, okay. I'm already seeing some people that want the giveaway. Just tell me. Just be like, I want it. I want them. Whatever you say, I will add your name and I will make a wheel during a read aloud and then we will do the giveaway. And I'll give your contact. Well, we'll figure that. I'll let you know. Though I'll talk to the winners. We'll figure it out. Great. Look at all the people entering. I love it. It's going to be so cute. Amina says, I want the giveaway, but the postage is just going to be too expensive. So just the thought of the giveaway is fine. There you go. But yeah, you can check out her website, her Instagram. As she said, she's got her link tree on Instagram with all her bonus content and everything. It looks so cute. So yeah, I'm going to have to read this one. So yeah. Okay. I'm seeing everybody. I'm not going to forget anyone and I will add you. All right, let's look at the next one. You guys are not going to believe. Isn't this so fun? I'm just having the best time. We also have out today, Miss Austen Investigates, A Fortune Most Fatal. This is book 2 of her series by Jessica Bull, where we have the real Jane Austen investigating mysteries. What more can you want? So that is out today. We'll come back and see if we have time to read the synopses for some of these extras. But we got to get through some other things first. We also have When Jess Wainwright's Curiosity Was Satisfied by the fabulous Andrea Jenelle, friend of the show, friend of the channel. She's been on with us before. I'm trying to remember if it was the morning show or maybe we had her as part of Tea and Biscuits. My brain is not braining this morning. So, but I was really excited to hear more about this book. And I'm going to let her tell you. So get ready. You're going to love this as soon as I open it. This is the trickiest part. Okay, here we go. It's going to happen. Okay, again, we've got so many things. La, 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 la. And here we are. Boom.
The book coming out today. It is this one, When Jess Wainwright's Curiosity Was Satisfied. It is the 4th book in my Wainwright Sisters series, which is a Victorian era historical romance series about 7 sisters and the ways that they find love. I wanted to talk about the book a little bit because I did something very different. So this is my 17th book, and this is the first time I've actually done this. When I was writing this book, I came at it with the intention of writing a working class hero, which all of the books in this series center on the working class. So I wanted to focus on writing a rags to riches working class hero who you think is going to be very manipulative and dominating, and it appears that he's that way in the beginning. But what I wanted to do when I wrote this book was explore how the dynamics of someone like that can change when they find out they don't always have to be hard, they don't always have to be manipulative, that you get more by being soft. In other words, you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. It's a really deep exploration of what happens when you think this brittle, hard shell that you've built has to be maintained no matter what. And you find out that it's actually keeping you from getting those things that will bring you fulfillment and wholeness. So that is what this book is about. Jess is a school teacher. She is a budding entomologist. I actually based her character on a real female entomologist that whose practices we still use today because of the study she did between agriculture and pestilence, and how the insect world helped and hindered agriculture. So I actually based Jess on an actual real character in history. So she has a microscope that is her prized possession, and Kadek steals it because he is trying to get close to her. He won't let her have it back unless she meets his wager, which is a series of kisses. For every kiss she resists, she gets a piece of the microscope back. Of course, things don't go at all as they intend. He gives her a couple of weeks to say yes or no. They have a couple more interactions, still no kisses. And culminates in her realizing she has to say yes if she wants her microscope back, because he is not wavering in his stance for reasons that she, of course, doesn't fully understand. So I'm going to read you their first kiss. I thought that would be a fun thing to do. So you can just get a hint of their dynamics and both of their inner conflicts.
So yeah, she has a read aloud of their very first kiss. I listened to it. At one point, it was funny because I was downloading it. Of course, as always, I'm trying to do multiple things at the same time, and it stopped, and I was like, no! So wait until you hear this. Yeah, she's reading it aloud. It's not crazy spicy, guys, so don't be afraid. But if your sensibilities are, hindered or not hindered, think of words that would work in that sentence. Feel free to jump out and come back. But it's about a kiss, okay? So, but it's a little steamy. So I'm just letting you know in advance. So get ready. We've never done this before on the show, having someone read aloud a real fun scene. So I'm really excited. Now I just have to get the scene. Okie dokie, here we go.
So here we go. As I said, this is their first kiss where she's realized that she needs to accept his wager. Her purposeful stride brought her within a hand's length before she gasped. "You're still here." He uncrossed his arms. "Where else would I be? I have been patiently awaiting your decision." "The answer is yes. I'll accept your wager because you leave me no choice." She haughtily brushed past him. Kadek was quick on her heels. If she was agreeing to the wager, it began tonight. His grip landed on her wrist as she loosened her grasp on the cloak. "Not so fast, Miss Wainwright. There are things I need to say before we embark on this journey." She froze beneath his touch, and he was close enough to see the goose flesh rising at her nape. She was far from immune, no matter how she pretended otherwise or wished to the contrary. "What are you going to do?" Her voice trembled slightly, and he knew she was afraid. He didn't think she was afraid of him, only of her own reaction. He lifted his hand and brushed it over her nape, grazing the knob of her spine, the tendrils of hair, and the flushed skin. She sighed and dipped her head. Her cloak was twisted in her fingers, as if she thought it would be her salvation, or her anchor. He would allow it to be neither. He lowered his head to the place he'd just touched. When he buried his nose in the low bun at her nape, he smelled lemon verbena and rosemary, and the subtle tang of her perspiration. Her eyes were closed, and he let his lips rest against her delicate skin. "I want your eyes open, No hesitation, Jess Wainwright, he murmured. I know what I've agreed to. I know you're angry, and you believe I backed you into a corner. I have, but my intentions in doing so aren't evil. She snorted. You may not be pure evil, Caddick Morgan, but your intentions toward me are wicked. I am not a fool. As I've said, my intentions were never in question. It is your response to them that is in question. Can you resist me, Jess? He whispered into her ear. You haven't earned the familiarity of my given name. He slid his arm around her, his hand splayed over her ribcage. He could feel the thud of her heart beneath her wool dress, her corset, and her chemise. As he pressed closer, her crinoline crumpled, and the bell of her skirt swung forward to brush the wall. I want to earn that familiarity, he said as he fingered the black ribbon that held her cameo. I want to earn it, he repeated. If he earned that boon, it would ease the sense of revulsion he felt when he considered what the reprisal to her would be for her surrender. I never would have exposed your sister. I have sisters of my own, and I want them to have choices like those offered by women like Lavinia. I thought our wager was for kisses, one at a time. It didn't encompass familiarity, or heartfelt confessions. How does telling me you made an empty threat improve your case? Caddick smiled at the belligerence in her voice. There are preludes to kisses, Miss Wainwright, that build the anticipation of the act itself, until you're aching to feel the supple give of another's mouth beneath your own, until you want nothing more than to swallow their gasp of surrender. So, this is a prelude. A prelude, an introduction, the prologue before the main event. Call it what you will, but consider it the stoking of a fire, until the embers are in danger of leaping from the hearth and charring everything in their path, especially misgivings and inhibitions. I fear it's not just my misgivings and inhibitions that will be incinerated, Mr. Morgan, she softly confessed. Her admission meant she didn't find him repugnant, that she didn't want a reprieve. He unfastened the clasp of her cameo and twisted the ribbon around his wrist before sliding it into his pocket. Her head fell back, and she rested against his shoulder. The sweep of her dark lashes fluttered over the lavender crescents just beneath them. She was clearly worn to the bone, and the lines of her mouth were lax with either exhaustion or concession. He hoped it was the latter. If she was finally succumbing to temptation, Caddick was taking every liberty she'd allow him. He slid his palm around her midriff before he skated it up her ribcage and traced a path around the rise of one breast. Her mouth parted and she moaned. She bit her lip immediately afterward, as if she was quelling her body's betrayal. The straight arrows of her brows lowered until they nearly touched the bridge of her nose. This isn't a kiss, she complained. No, it's not. It's an experience I want you to agonize over when you're lying in your bed alone. She shook the hand at her wrist free. I don't want an experience. I agreed to this ridiculous wager because there were clearly defined boundaries. You're crossing them. So be it, he muttered, and spun her around. The first flutter of her lips was soft and astonished, delicate, like the brush of one of her dragonfly wings. When his palm cupped her nape, her hands clutched at empty air before she fisted one of them in his shirt. His kisses were shallow, testing the waters, testing her resolve, making her question the wisdom of the boundaries she insisted they keep between them. Caddick didn't want boundaries or definitions. He wanted this fragile exploration of her awakening. He wanted to watch it bloom like night orchids behind her eyes, and flush her cheeks with ardor she couldn't master or subdue. In his arms, she was everything he'd dreamt she would be. He coasted his lips over the divot in her chin and the freckles scattered over the bridge of her nose like specks of stardust. He kissed the corners of her eyelids as she closed them, and then the sweep of her lashes and the purple shadows he'd noticed earlier. His lips weren't a gentle hello the second time. They grazed hers with intention, his hands tangling in her hair until the snoot and the bun were gone, and the silky mass of curls snuck under his cufflinks and glided over his wrists. He briefly acknowledged he would have welcomed the caress even if she was Medusa, and the curls were the tongues of 1,000 asps instead. For her, for this kiss, he turned to stone. So, as you can see, there is a lot more to Caddick Morgan than you first suspect in Chapter 1. Thank you for listening.
Oh! Oh my gosh, right? It's so funny because I got the arc of this and I said to her, I was like, I don't know if I love this hero. And she was saying that many people said a similar thing. I know, Amina. I know. But yeah, apparently he's just so nuanced. He's like one of her most complex characters that she's ever written. Um, I told her, I was like, I've got to read this. I've got to read this. So anyway, yeah, and it's out today. So I thought that was so fun. Oh, and how can I go back to work? I know that doesn't make it difficult. I know. And if you had your volume down, you're welcome to turn it back up. I have a meeting. Oh no, you poor thing. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's come back over here. So that was Jess Wainwright out today. We've also got The Prince and the Player by Nora Phoenix, which, as you can pretty much tell from the cover, we've got a football or a soccer player, depending on where you're from, and a prince, an romance that's supposed to be. It harkens back to what's the name of the one that was so big? Oh, for Pete's sake! Now I'm not gonna remember. I want to say it's by Alexis Hall, but it may not be. It was it's the American and the British guy. Oh, I know. Are you talking about Jess Wainwright? I know. Oh, for Pete's sake. Anyway, let me just not have you watch me try to figure books out. It's the one they made a movie on Amazon about it. Anyway, it's supposed to be really good. This is me not remembering everything, and I wish I did. Casey McQuiston. Thank you, Sock. I knew you would know. Thank you. The Casey McQuiston one. Yes. That's it. Red, white, and royal blue. Thank heavens for you guys. That's it. That's exactly it. Okay, good. As a team, we work together and we figure out what I'm trying to say. Okay. Love it. Love it. What would I do without you? Okay. This is so fun. I want to have her on too. I was talking to her. I'm like, we got to have you do an interview. This is Jennie L. Spohr for Heirs and Spares, which came out today. Wait until you hear this. This is fascinating to me. And I just have to present it. It seems to be the thing that's constantly the trickiest part. Get ready. You're going to love this.
Hi, B, and all you beautiful readers. I am author Jennie Spohr, and I am thrilled to talk to you today about Heirs and Spares Betwixt the Sheets edition, because royal duty has never looked so delicious. It is Europe, 1569, and Lady Annalore disdains anything to do with court and all of its trappings until the exiled prince, now turned king, has decided she is the key to saving his kingdom and very possibly his heart. We've got scheming nobles, check. Reluctant royals, check, check. And enough spice to make a Tudor blush, check, check, check. Heirs and Spares Betwixt the Sheets edition is perfect for history lovers who like their romance with high stakes, sharp banter, and with an entire chapter titled Consummation, just the right amount of scandalous. But wait, there's more. Do you like your romance on the lighter side? Well, I have just the book for you. Heirs and Spares Closed Bed Curtains edition. You got all the intrigue, all the swoon, but the bedroom stuff is mostly left up to your fantastic imagination. Heirs and Spares, both editions are available right now. It is the first in a 3-book series plus a novella, and with the last of the Betwixt the Sheets editions of the series coming out in May. The Closed Bed Curtains editions are all available right now, as is Heirs and Spares Betwixt the Sheets. The rest of the series of the Betwixt the Sheets editions are going to be out by May. So you're not going to have to wait too long. So grab whichever copy of Heirs and Spares you would like, either Betwixt the Sheets or Closed Bed Curtains. Grab some mulled wine, curl up, and enjoy the Tudor era like you always wanted it to be. Huzzah!
What? Isn't that the coolest thing? I felt like cheering the first time I watched that. I am so excited. She's going to be on our very first evening show, May 22nd. So I just can't wait. I just can't wait. And yeah, I love what she said. She really put some backbone into this promo. Yes, she did. I was like, holy cow, she pulled out all the stops. I love it. Terry says that we've got also the bonus for the bingo board. Awesome. She's going to grab both editions. Oh, that'll be fun because then you can compare. I know. My brain also exploded. Yes, it did. Gimme, gimme, gimme. I know. I was so excited. I was like, we are so all about this. And again, like, because I know we've got people in our crew that love sweet, clean, and we've got those who like both, and then we've got the ones who like the spicy. And I just love that we have all the options. It's so cool. It's so cool. I know. I know. So yeah, really excited. And I can't wait to have her on in May, our very first evening guest. So that's going to be great. That's going to be so great. So yes, back to that. Heirs and Spares Betwixt the Sheets edition. The first of the Betwixt the Sheets editions comes out today. And all of her stuff is, like all the authors, in case I hadn't mentioned this specifically already, they're in the description box. Everything is linked. Everything is linked. Yeah, so very, very cool. Let's see here. We also have what else is going on? C.H. Admirand, the Duke's Lance from Dragon Blade is out today, as well as C.R.R. Hillin's fantasy. I think it's YA. I think she can tell us more. She's here as well. This is The Orphan's King, book 1 of the Orphan's Code, which we're going to learn more about right now.
Hello everyone, I am so excited to tell you that my debut fantasy novel, The Orphan's King, comes out today. Your copy is going to look very different, but it is available right now for you to go buy and read and meet these characters that I love so much and have been working on for so long. It's a labor of love, 20 years in the making, and I'm so excited. The story is about a vigilante warrior who takes on a corrupt capitalist system, goes after the king himself, and then fails. So the rest of the story is what happens next.
So fun. I love that. The little tease right there. I know. It's so fun. We also have The Dandelion, which is coming out March 26th by Jenna Jackson. And call me crazy, but I'm looking at this hero. Does he not look just like Tom? Oh my gosh, what is his last name? The Spider-Man. Tom something. I forgot. Wow. Clearly my lack of sleep is impacting my memory. I'm going to make sure I have everything written down tonight for our live show. Tom something or other. Doesn't he look like him? Okay, maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. We'll move on. But that comes out. That would be tomorrow. The Dandelion, part of the Lion's Den Connected World. Tom Holland, thank you. Again, it takes a village. Thank you, Angel 23. Yay. Okay. I think he looks like him anyway. Okay. We also have coming out tomorrow, Misfortune and Mr. Right. This is book 3 or 4. I'm trying to remember, of the Serendipity, which is the 8-book collection written by different sweet, clean authors, part of Only Magic in the Building, in which we have 8 different unique, clean, sweet, closed-door love stories that are all imbued with a little bit of magic, which is found within the building in which these stories take place. So I adore Savannah Scott, as I've mentioned to you a million times already. You've heard me say this if you've ever been to my channel before, probably, but Savannah Scott is my favorite sweet, clean author. She's going to be on our channel as well in May on our morning show. I cannot wait. And her book comes out tomorrow. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. We also have, this one looks so funny, Allie Everhart's The Jerk in 1B, which is out in 2 days on the 27th. It looks like you're a classic contemporary romance. So fun. As well as a hockey romance by Leah Brunner, Secret or Shutout, which is coming out on Thursday. And she is here via video to tell us more.
Okay, picture this. We have a heroine who moves halfway across the country to nanny for her older brother and his wife. Her older brother is the captain of an NHL hockey team. So on her night off, she goes to a bar, to lick her wounds, get a little tipsy, forget all the drama she's going through, and there she meets the most handsome, muscular, delicious man she's ever seen in her life. They end up hitting it off, they share a passionate kiss, and then they go on their merry ways without getting each other's names. The next morning, she wakes up and her brother tells her he's having a teammate over for coffee. She's like, great, that's awesome. And in walks the man that she met at the bar and made out with. But her brother's teammates are super off limits, and so they have to pretend like they've never met each other. And that is my book that releases today. It's called Secret or Shutout.
And she has a little bit more to tell us.
It is a brother's best friend and teammate hockey romance, and it's part of a series of interconnected standalones, so you can read it. If you don't want to read the rest of the series, you can start here, and I think you'll have a really good time.
Yay! I love a good hockey romance, as you know. And I don't think I'm in my hockey era right now. I think I'm very much in my historical romance era, which I'm very excited about. But I do still from time to time enjoy a good hockey romance. So I was really excited about this one. We also have Noelle Adams's In Flight, a flighty novella. If you're looking for a rom-com that's also short and sweet, that one comes out on the 28th of March, which I believe is this Friday, if I'm doing my math correctly. We also have Miranda Seymour and J.P. Jones, who have co-written Dear Alex. She's in love with him, and he's in love with a lie. And we now have the two co-authors of this book who've sent us a video. This is probably one of my favorite. They're so precious. I just love it so much. Here they are to talk about their book.
Hi, Mama Needs to Read Romance. I'm Miranda Seymour.
And I'm JP Jones, and we're so thrilled that you're going to be reviewing our debut novel, Dear Alex, which is out on the 28th of March.
So Alex is a hot mess. A struggling writer in London, she, against all common sense, applies to an online men's magazine to write an agony aunt column.
During that job, she gives some terrible advice to a guy called Ryan that she resolves to fix by reaching out to help him, but under a different identity. Along the way, they fall in love, but Ryan is in love with a lie.
And when that lie is exposed, her entire world falls apart. Can she fix things in time to win back the love of her life?
We can't wait to hear what you think.
Oh my gosh, they're so dear. I love it so much. This looks really fun. This looks really fun. I love Sock's comment about where am I on my slides here? Secret or Shutout. I'm skating toward my hockey era with no barriers. But yes, this one does sound like so much fun. I'm all about it. I'm all about it. We also have Kindred Spirits at Harling Hall by Sharon Booth, which comes out on March 28th. And I think that's my last slide, but I actually have another really fun video to share with you. You're going to love this. Two-person love triangle. I love those so hard. Truly, I know, right? Okay. So two-person love triangle. I love that. That's for this one. Christina Diane's latest book is out today. Oh, The Viscount and the Wallflower, fourth book in her Unlikely Betrothals series. I'm really enjoying that series. Novella lengths. Thank you, Stacy, for letting us know about that. There's always something that falls through the cracks for me. So I'm so thrilled that you shared that with us. I know we love Christina Diane here, and I'm so happy to to talk about this. So yay, thank you. Thank you very much. Sock says two-person love triangle is a searchable trope on Archive of Our Own. So I didn't come up with it. Wow. Interesting. Let's see. I have another one. I'll wait until you see this one. This is one of my other, it's hard to pick a favorite video, but here we have Elena's
Hi there.
Secret.
My name is Elizabeth Dunn, and I write sweet Regency romance. That is romance set in the Regency period, where everybody keeps their clothes on. So we have lots of hugs and kisses and longings and embraces, but no bedroom scenes. Charlie, our dog, and I are coming to you from Iowa, although originally, as you can hear from my accent, I am from South Africa, Cape Town to be exact. We've been living in Iowa for the last 10 years along with my hubby and my two boys and our cat. So today I'm telling you about my upcoming release. It's coming out on Friday, and it's called Eleanor's Secret. Let's see if I can get this to not reflect when I tell you about it. There we go. Eleanor's Secret is the second book in the Ladies of Monroe series. I'll be putting the links for my webpage and the sales links, etc., and other interviews that I've done for your interest at the bottom of this video. But yes, Eleanor's Secret is the second book in the Ladies of Monroe series. The first book is called Sophia's Letter, and that is already available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. So yes, I will send those links as well. Meanwhile, what is Eleanor's Secret about? Well, it's about Eleanor Trenton and Lord Howell, who's the Viscount of Monroe. He's had a bit of a rough childhood. His older sisters bully him, and he's started stuttering, and even though he's delicious looking, he's just got a lot of insecurities. And the ladies of the town are very keen to marry him for his money and his status, but they don't necessarily want to marry him. So he looks a bit further abroad into a little country town called Erminborough, where he's heard of this beautiful, unjaded young lady called Eleanor Trenton, whose father is keen to marry her well. And so he thinks, well, she'll do what she's told, and so maybe I'll be able to marry her and she won't judge me like these town ladies would. So he brokers an arrangement with the father, and poor Eleanor, who's terrified of marrying someone just like her dad, who doesn't have much love for his wife, and she doesn't want to have a cold marriage like that, ends up being engaged to a gentleman sight unseen. So it's her worst nightmare. And then, just to make matters worse, as she's leaving for Monroe, there's a carriage accident, and she ends up on a very stormy night all by herself in the woods, and she finds a cabin. And of course there's a handsome young man in the cabin. It's going to have to be. It's a romance story, right? And he's gorgeous and very kind, and they spend the night together, behaving themselves, but thinking thoughts. So when Eleanor ends up in Monroe, she's now got feelings for this gentleman that she met in the cabin, and she's also got some very strong reserved feelings about this gentleman that she has to marry, and those are not mutual feelings. So Eleanor's got her work cut out for her, figuring out whether she wants to follow her heart or obey her duty and marry the man that her father has picked out for her. Meanwhile, Lord Viscount Howell is finding that his young lady that he's engaged to is a bit more trouble than he thought she would be. And you're going to have to read more to find out exactly what kind of trouble she causes and how these two handle things and who she ends up with. But yes, Eleanor has a secret that she spent the night alone with a gentleman in the cabin, and of course that was not done in those days. It would ruin her reputation completely. And how does she handle that secret, and do things work out with her and Lord Howell? It is a happy ever after romance after all. So that's what Eleanor's Secret is about. Ladies of Monroe is a series that follows several young ladies who are connected to each other in the city of Monroe, but each is a standalone book, so you wouldn't have to read them in order, although it is nice if you do. There's a little bit of consistency which you'll pick up on. Otherwise, you can read them out of order or read some and not others, but all 5 books will be out by the end of the year if you are interested in getting the entire set. And that's everything I think you want to know. Everything else will be in links attached to this video. And I really hope you get some joy out of reading Eleanor's Secret. Like I say, it's on release this Friday. If you want to learn more little tidbits, please do sign up for my newsletter. All you have to do is go to my webpage and put your email in, and it's free. And it's only once a month, so I don't clog up your inbox. Yeah, and then you get to find out all little juicy details that I don't tell anybody else on Facebook or anywhere else. I look forward to meeting you if you end up reviewing my books. Thanks for this chance to tell you more about myself and the book. Have a fantastic week. Bye.
I just adore her. I could listen to her talk all day. I told her that. I love her voice and her accent. I was just like, oh, so relaxing. So relaxing. And Eleanor's Secret, as she mentioned, is on sale this Friday, March 28th. So, and I love the cover. Isn't it just gorgeous? And I love the fan, the dress, everything. Look at the way the light plays on it. Oh, it's so cute. So cute. So with that, those are the releases. Other than this is actually going to bring us to my other topic that I wanted to mention to you before. We are going to spin the wheel. I also have a poll. We have like 5 minutes. We're going to see what we can get accomplished. The other thing I want to tell you, there's another book that's released today that I didn't make a slide for, partly because, let's see, I want to jump over here. Okay, are we there? Yes. So A Desert of Bleeding Sand. Many of you may remember that I had Lucia de Misa on my channel many months ago for the cover reveal of this incredible book. She's a Nigerian author. I'm so excited about this series. She's so deep. This was inspired by the feelings that she was feeling during the Save Our Girls movement of like 2014, 2015, I think. And she penned all of her frustrations and stress into this incredible, gorgeous book and series. The cover art is done by a Ukrainian artist, just incredible. I'm so thrilled that she's going to be joining us on our next live show, which is actually going to be on Thursday. I'm actually going to be out of town on Friday, the 28th, which works out because Lucia wasn't available, I don't think, on the 28th, but she is on the 27th. So we're going to be doing our next show on Thursday instead of Friday. So I'll be seeing you guys again day after tomorrow. And we will be talking to Lucia de Misa about A Desert of Bleeding Sand. But it's also going to be right around the time of Abby Jimenez's birthday. So what I would like to do, I was going to basically kind of mention that, but what I would like to do additionally is I would like to, let me show you what else I want to share here. They've changed StreamYard a little bit, which of course they have right around the time that I'm doing 2 lives in one day. I would love to know your thoughts on what else you would like to do on Thursday. I want to do a deep dive. I think it would be really fun for us to start doing something where during our sprints, we decide, like right before we vote, we decide, what do we want to learn more about today? What are we in the mood for? Learning about a particular kind of hero. Like I would research, and you guys can tell me too, any books that have that type of hero mentioned, or perhaps a trope, or a particular time period, or if we want to learn more about an author. But I would love to know, on like around the day of, so we're actually doing this 2 days before, but what we want to do. So I'm going to on Thursday have you guys tell me a little bit more. Like we'll vote right now whether we want to do deep dive into a type of hero, a trope, a time period, or an author. And then on Thursday, you're going to tell me which thing, if this is making sense, hopefully. And over the break, over our sprints, I'm going to try to find out as much information as I can to present to you on just exactly what we're feeling that day. So I'm really excited about this possibility of just making it like up to the minute what we're in the mood for based on who's here and what do we want to know. So, but I do want to have us at least vote for this right now. So I'm going to send you the link. I'm going to shorten the URL. Speaking of URLs, right? Historical romance. I'm going to post it in the chat right now. So go ahead and click on that. What do you want to learn more about on Thursday? Do you want us to deep dive into a type of hero like cinnamon roll, alpha, possessive, protective, you name it? Or is it a trope that you want to learn more about, or a time period, or an author? Click on one of those 4, and then on Thursday we'll decide how we want to do this. All right, here's what we've got going so far. And then I can just say, if everyone could just vote one time, that'd be lovely. Just to double check. But so far, oh, wow. Now we're 3, 3, and 3 here. We're in thirds. I'm loving this. I can't wait. Oh, Deborah! Sneaking in late, but I made it to say hi. We're so happy you're here, Deborah. We have a few minutes left. I'm going to try to go to the very last moment. Yeah, I'm really excited about that. Okay, we're getting 50% want a particular time period. Ooh. And then if this is what we end up doing on Thursday, we'll say what kind of time periods do we want? We'll do the poll. And then we'll just deep dive over the sprint and present after. I'm really excited. I just think it'll be really fun. Look, someone just voted for an author. There was no one doing that earlier. Yeah, so I'm excited. I will give this another like 30 seconds, I guess, because I do have to go in a minute. We are going to do the Wheel of Names, though. We have 4 people that signed up for the giveaway. We're giving away the glazed hole stickers and the cover, the art prints from the that first book we talked about, the one that comes out today, Just Our Luck by Denise Williams. And she has so graciously offered to do these giveaways, which I'm so excited about. All right, we've got 10 responses. It looks like I'm going to call it just because we're running low on time. Hopefully, I know not everybody's voted, so I apologize, but oh, it's changing more. Okay, I'm going to give it 10 more seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, no! 1. Great. Now we have, why does this happen? Tell you what. Okay. We're either going to do a type, I'm calling it. I'm not accepting responses. Okay. We're either going to do a time period or a type of hero. We'll poll again on Thursday. If I had more time. Who didn't vote? No pie for you. I know. Quite a few people actually chose not to vote. Yeah, I should have called it sooner, Kristen. You're right. You're right. Okie dokie. So yeah, I should have called it sooner. Or maybe I'll just pick which one. I don't know. Why do you trust people to not mess you up like this? Why do I indeed, Sock? Oh man, I love it so much though. It's funny. Okay, so we're going to jump over to Wheel of Names because I've got my, let's see, sharing the screen. Here we go. Okay, are we here? We've got just 4 people wanted to join. Let's see who wins. We're going to do this 2 times. So you've got a 50% chance of winning with the two of you of the 4. Here we go. First winner is Doc. Doc's going to be winning the glazed hole sticker and a beautiful art print. I'm really excited. Our other winner is going to be or spinning again, Sock. Wow, Sock, this is your lucky day. Okay, we're spinning again. We're spinning again. Sock, you should play tonight. There's going to be some giveaways tonight too, and I'd love to see if you win yet again. Okay, and Paige. So Paige and Sock, I know how to contact you guys. I will be contacting you later today when I have a moment in my weird, crazy day that I'm having. And we'll make sure we get you connected with Denise Williams. So I hope you enjoy the stickers and the cover art. And I'm looking forward to reading Denise Williams's book, Just Our Luck, out today. Looks super cute and very different. I love it. Congrats, guys. Oh, yeah. I love, you guys are just the sweetest. Maybe take me out. I know. Well, I thought about that. Look at this. See, Kristen, this is why I let people vote the way that I do, because people are just the best. They're just the best. I love it. I love it. Okay, man, I'm over time. I better go right this minute. But I'm hoping to see you guys tonight. I have no idea how many people are coming. We've never done anything like this before. And tonight is the medieval March read aloud. I'm going to be reading things aloud. If there's going to be giveaways, prizes, it's going to be amazing. We're going to get to hang out with Nikki Pascarella and Giovanna Siniscalchi, who's written an incredible story about a Regency lady who time travels to the medieval period and has a dashing knight. You even get to vote and decide how the story is going to end. It's going to be so much fun. And that is tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So I hope to see you guys tonight. It's going to be so fun. Yeah. So yeah, bye guys. Bye. I will see you later, and I'll see you also hopefully on Thursday. So have a great rest of your day and rest of your week. Again, looking forward to seeing you as soon. I'm sure I'll see you soon. Okay, I better go. Oh, Silly. Yeah, Silly has to come. Okay.